Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to Success Channel. Today we'll be discussing what is better, whether it's in-house job or an independent practice or working with some law firm. We have esteemed speakers today. Let's welcome them. We have Mr. Rajdev Singh, his partner, King, Stubb and Kasiva. He has experience in banking, financial services, hospitality, aviation, insurance, media, real estate, etc. We have Mr. Sachin Daga. He is founder and managing partner, Daga Legal LLP. He has his firm has more than 66 years of a consolidated experience in real estate, Companies Act, banking, insolvency, etc. We have Janinder Chumbak. He is managing partner, Associated Law Offices, and he has more than 16 years experience in civil criminal litigation, insolvency, etc. We have Mr. Gulshan Sachdeva. He is partner, Sachdeva and Associates. He has more than 16 years experience as in-house counsel as well as practicing lawyer into litigation, non-litigation, insolvency, insurance, banking, recovery, etc. We have Mr. Lohit Salwan. He has more than 18 years experience into litigation, non-litigation, banking, arbitration, recovery. And I'm Abhijit Tople. I'm head of legal Geo Financial Services. I have more than 20 years experience, out of which 5 years in sales marketing and 15 years into litigation, non-litigation as an advocate, as well as in-house counsel. So let's start. My first question is to Gulshan. Gulshan, what do you think? What is in-house practice, in-house job, independent practice, and working with some law firm? What is the difference? Is it?
It all depends on you. In-house, you are not only a lawyer, you have to interest between the management and the law firm as well. So you have to take care of the interest of the company as well, and you have to convince a lawyer as well how we have to proceed. So both has a very different kind of a structure. I should say. In-house, your role is not limited to being a lawyer. Sometimes you have to be manager as well. Sometimes you have to be leader as well. Sometimes you have to be a you have to play many roles when in-house counsel. In a practice, if you love independence, then there is nothing good than practice. Because in practice, you can take your own call. You're not limited to 9 to 5 jobs. In-house, obviously, you have to stick to the discipline, the office, or all that. Yeah, I enjoyed 15 years as in-house counsel, but I learned a lot, to be very frank. What I'm doing today because of my in-house role, because I spend a good year in banking industry, insurance, as well as media or all that. So it all depends on you, for what kind of role you want to play. To love your independence, obviously you will prefer independent practice. But sometimes you in a corporate, it doesn't learn you law. It learns you so many things, how to manage the things, how to manage the issues, because you will get every day some or another issue, not in the legal related. You sometimes when business you always you have to assist the HR as well. You have to provide support to the operation as well. Sometimes you have to take care of the many issues which law has nothing to do with that. So it all depends with what kind of role you want to play.
Right. Rajdev, you have any inputs on this?
Yeah. So, Abhijit, I mean, we are talking about three different, you can say, in a way, parallel different industries. So one is law firm, I mean, wherein somebody is just coming in after doing LLB and joining law firm. Another one is independent practitioner, and the third one is wherein you go for a company and just be as one of in-house counsel. So these three sectors are different sectors altogether, and it requires different capabilities, skill set, process altogether. They all are different ball game altogether, in fact, right? So there are pros and cons in all these respective sectors. So if you talk about independent, then it means you're the master of your own. You need to dig a well and find water by yourself. You are on its own. And if you talk about others too, so independent practitioner, I always consider as a mother of another. So other two sectors. So if you're practicing, if you're in independent practice, then you grow up, then come together, and then they create a law firm, and then it becomes other things. So in-house practices altogether is different practice, wherein a lot of things you are just going to learn. Not only the litigation, it also requires the compliances. It also requires the corporate skills, your presentation skills, your communication skills. So your overall personality development does matter over there. So as I said, all these three categories are different categories altogether. They have their own pros and cons. They are I mean, there are a lot of learning in all these respective sectors.
Sachin?
So it depends on
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, continue, please.
I'll just share my experience. I have been into corporates before coming into my legal practice. And as rightly mentioned by Gulshan and Raj, every sector has got its own pros and cons. Now it all depends, as Jack Canfield has always, he has said that, where you are and where you want to be. So that is to be decided. So if you are very clear that where you would want to be, then you can choose in which of the sector you would want to be. Like suppose if you want to become an independent practitioner, so as Raj said, rightly said, that you have to be the master of your own. Now one major point I would want to add over here, it also depends upon which kind of city town nowadays you are working, because law is evolving, and so fields have increased. And if you see in a metro, like for example I'm practicing out of Mumbai, so there are courts which are situated in the vicinity of 50-kilometer area. So if you are alone, it will be very difficult for you to practice. Say on one day you are in High Court, where in NCLT tribunal so many courts are there. So it's because it is very difficult for a person to practice independently. Whereas if you really want to be an independent practitioner, then you have to be a master in one of the subject. So law is a vast field. So either you choose one of the subject and then you start yourself, but it takes its own time. It has got rewarding ripple effect, but say you will have to invest at least 7 to 10 years, and then you will be known in the circle. Now if you are into an in-house job, and if you are so again we will have to divide it into three parts. If you are a novice, you have just graduated and you have just come into an in-house job, so the good part is that you would be paid more because you have come from a college. It's a, you can say, 9 to 5 job. There will be peace, and then you will have to work according to one sector. So for example, if you are a litigator, you will be having cases pertaining to banking sector. Obviously, as Raj mentioned, that all departments are there, so you will have to work with different departments, but majorly your role will be to that particular sector. Now if you come to law, you will working with peers and seniors, wherein an independent practitioner, he would have never seen how other people are working, so he can be best or he doesn't know. He can be good only, or he must be requiring to practice more in that particular field. But whereas in law firm, you will get to deal with your peers. You can see what they are doing, how their seniors are researching. You will see various fields, and then you will decide. After a 5 years time, or say 6 years, 7 years time, you decide where you would want to be, and then you can start as an independent practitioner. I feel this is the way one should plan his career. If an individual wanting to be and deciding, where he has to be, whether it has to be independent or in-house or a law firm. That is my view.
Right. So Sachin, I guess there should always be a guru. That's what you are saying here. So without guru, if you are starting, you'll have to face a lot of trouble by
It's a
practice.
very vast field.
Yeah. Right. Right. Rohit, you have any view on this?
Yeah, so like as most of the my friend, my peers said, every field, every organization, it always works with a very different kind of ecosystem, if you say, and guessing which side of the grass is greener, it's always a debatable topic. And wherever you put more water, you'll find more greener grass for that matter. But yes, if from my experience, I always say, you should always look at both sides of the grass, both side of it, and you will find different variety of grass also, and different efforts will yield a different results in different set of atmosphere also. If you're working as an in-house counsel, you need a different skill sets, obviously. And when you're working as an independent counsel, you need a different skill set. And when you're working in a law firm, because you need a different skill set, because all three sectors works on a very three different ecosystem. Yes, there are commonalities which we need to deal with it, and because obviously everybody is, rope in a single common thread, which is law, which is a subject, but applicability is absolutely very different. And so you need a very different kind of discipline when you deal with all three kinds of organization, all three kinds of ecosystem. But yes, for me, if you ask me, I always, whenever I see a fresher who is coming into this organization, I always, advise them to at least look at both sides of the world. And it's good if you are coming, if you want to come to a corporate, I always advise at least have a flavor of, independent practice, at least have a flavor of courts, at least have a flavor of litigation, and that will actually help when you actually join a corporate. Obviously, there are my friends are there who has, started their career from corporate and joined litigation, which is always there. At the end of fag of the year, at the end of the, season, or at the end of our career, everybody wants to, come and join as an independent practice, wants to license as an independent or as a freelancer kind of thing. So obviously that corporate experience always comes handy. You can anyways you can go and join there. But when you talk about, campus placement kind of thing, I have seen so many. I'm not against it, but with a flavor of, court practice, how procedural law work, it will always comes handy, at least when you are actually dealing with a litigation kind of structure in a corporate itself. If you are typically dealing in a typical contract management or non-litigation stuff, that it doesn't matter. But when you are in an organization as an in-house counsel, you're dealing with the litigation and you do not know the trade of the tricks, obviously it will always be struggle to deal with the advocate. So for me, you should always have a flavor of the other side of the world also, which makes life easy.
Right, and it may delay the matters also because the in-house counsel is not understanding what exactly is the process.
Correct.
And
so there will always be a communication gap. Yeah.
Right, definitely. And there is one more thing is that, you should always be ready to do hard work. It's in all three things. When you're in-house, you're practicing, or with law firm, you should be ready to do hard work. So I would like to understand, what are the benefits of practicing as an as an external lawyer, as an independent lawyer? So this question is to Raj there.
So, see, as I said, you need to be the master of your own, and then you again have to just dig a well and find water by yourself, which means you are going to be an entity and the master of the business. And apart from this, for you as an independent, sky is the limit. And earnings, if you talk about how much one can earn, then it is not fixed, but still it is going to be the time taking. And I've seen people, coming down from in-house practice and from law firm practice and to be independent, because the kind of charm, the kind of energy and the enthusiasm that we can see here in the independent sector, you can't, see anywhere else, because, the other ecosystem has a bounded atmosphere. So over here, sky is the limit, but at the same time you need, as you rightly said, one has to do a lot of hard work. So this is the field where you require intense hard work. So there is no limit as such. If there is no limit for the growth, then there is no limit hard work. You may have to just work for 24/7 and 365 days. There is no off. There is no vacations. Nothing is fixed here. The perks are not fixed, the expenses are not fixed, and though it is time taking, but this is going to be for the longer term. So you are not creating a platform for yourself, but you're also creating a platform for your upcoming generation and for your upcoming family members as well, right? So one always get of having a second generation lawyer or third generation lawyer. So these are the benefits that one can have out of the independence practice.
Yeah, Gulshan, your view, please.
Yeah, tell me.
Your view, please, on this.
Sorry.
Your view. You have any inputs on this?
No. Yeah. It's a very well in independent practice. You have to do lots of things at your own in the beginning. Okay, in the corporate world, if you join a corporate in the beginning, you meet so many different kind of people, not only lawyers or all that. So that given a different perspective to you, how to deal with the things. That is very important in a company. I know you have to play many roles. When you play these roles, obviously there are interaction with a number of people, and they all are different people. And you have to play two roles. You have to manage the law as well, and you have to manage that people as well. You have to be solve the issue. You cannot come. "Okay, this is also I can't do it." So this kind of interaction, when you have to deal with the things in any critical time, like catch 24 situation, that learns you a lot. Even I just share my experience when I was when ICC, na, I say the best part they used to provide training for every quarter. In a quarter, you won't be either all legal people from the operations, people from the marketing, people from the back office, people from the collections, people from the international business. So they all used to be trained. So this kind of experience in a corporate world, that really, at least it given me a lot to me, to be very frank. Interacting with people always learns you a lot. In a independent practice, obviously it's a big struggle to you, because you have to dig your well, you have to make an extra effort. Acha, in a law firm, you have some limitation, to very frank. In a law firm, people don't go into the very deep. They don't learn the process very much. Because even I have seen the people, lawyers, they know law, they can come and they can work, but they don't know the process or all that. Because there are so many clerks to do. The where you work now, you should take the responsibility on you. You can't do every work at your own, but you should know how to do the work. You should not be dependent on others for everything. Suppose your clerk is on leave, your junior is on leave. You should be independent enough to take the call. Because sometimes some very small issue comes in a registry is doing this or all that. When you know each and everything, now you will be better able to manage the things at your own way. When you have started taking things at your own, obviously it will learn you a lot. So wherever you are, first hard work. You don't limit to in the beginning. You should not be limited to one law. No, law is evolving. You should learn everything. Then you just catch where is your interest. Whether it's corporate law, whether it's arbitration, whether it's IBC, whether IPC, you could be master later on. But in the beginning, you should try everything or all that. If you got a chance to work with a senior or all that, obviously it learns you because they have a different kind of perspective. Seniors always they have you say they are a face value, but once they have made a face value after making so many efforts. The way senior takes a case, that is very important. You should learn how do they deal with the case, how they represent with the case. So that's very important. So wherever you are, you have to make hard work, reading latest laws, all this.
Right. And in addition to that, I guess public relation and polishing yourself, how you behave and all that is required.
Obviously, you always carry a brand name with yourself. You have to create your own brand, whether in-house, law firm, or independent. You have to you are brand ambassador of yourself. You have to make a brand of you, where in-house counsel people should count on you. Ki Gulshan is there or somebody else is there who can work for me. So do you? And in an independent also, people will trust on you. Then obviously they will come to you. So you have to create a brand of your own.
Right. Sachin, your view?
Yeah. Very rightly said by Rajdev that an independent lawyer, if he works very well, he will not only create a value proposition for himself, but he will create a legacy. For example, in an in-house, suppose if you are an in-house counsel, it will be there only. You might get retired or you might get out of the house, corporate house, and you will have to again start independently. Whereas in independent practice, you will create a legacy for your next generation. However, you need to put great effort because uh, sky is the limit. It's up to you how much you want to work, how much you want to earn. And when you are an independent practitioner, you will have to do everything on your own. Yes. So what will that translate into? You are master of the strategy, the practicality, and the procedure, everything. But yes, you will have to devote time not only in the case. First of all, generating a clientele, then understanding the client, then you have to do drafting, and then you have to litigate because everything has got different skill set. Drafting has got different skill set. I am not saying that a single person, an independent person cannot do. In the past, over the years, people have been growing that ways only. But now in today's generation, people, they don't want to spend so much of time. It is a digital age. They want to grow very fast. They want to have a face value immediately.
Right.
And I'm seeing, in fact, in this COVID times, I have seen how people are coming up with social media, with their videos. They are going in, they are bringing in some big person, and they are having a debate because they want to create their name very, very quickly. So this paradigm is changing. If you will see, what my perspective is, it's very difficult nowadays to become czar in drafting, to become a czar in arguments, everything. It's very difficult. If there are like 5-10 cases you are dealing with, it's okay, but you have to deal with hundreds of cases. You can't do everything at the speed which you are doing, because in this digital age, you are getting briefs on the internet, you are getting briefing on the internet. You just have to go and file the case and argue the case. So you need to have different skill set. As I said, if you are very clear that you want to be in one single field, then obviously you become an independent lawyer, and then you need to wait for that particular time. It can be 5 years, it can be 10 years. And of course, once you are at that, you have to believe in yourself. Yes, I will be there, and I am going to do my I am going to get the rewards what I am the efforts what I am putting. If you are okay with that, then you start with your independent practice. Otherwise, then you will have to seek, as you rightly said, you need to have some guru to
Right.
to give you the peripheral view of the how to, it's a crafting.
Right.
Court, in court, where you when you are in court, it's a court crafting. So the way we in fact, at my stature also, when we are going and we are seeing senior lawyers, they have a very different style of approaching towards the matter. So it
Right.
makes it makes a difference. So yes, in-house lawyer, he has to be master of his own deeds. He has to do everything on his own, and then he has to chart his whole ambition graph, that this is where I would want to be, and these are the efforts I want to put. And then yes, he can be benefited exponentially.
Right. Rohit, we would like to understand what are the benefits of working with independent senior lawyer in your initial days.
Look, I have a very what do you call, the brief experience of as an active litigation, 3-4 years. But what I understand in independent, advocate, in fact, the entire beauty of the profession is, if we'll talk about like this, entire beauty of profession is, like, academically we'll have a lot of dronacharyas. In Mahabharata, there is a Dronacharya who, gives, education, learning skills to all people.
Right.
So academically, we have all our, Dronacharya, we have, passed out in one of the best universities, one of the best professor like lecturer. But when it comes to actual practice of it, everyone has to be their own Eklavya. You can't be Arjun there. You have to be your own Eklavya. You need to understand entire perspective, the procedure of the court from your angle. Nobody is going to teach you there. That's the beauty of our profession. I think everybody, in this panel, everybody has learned, the trade of, the secret. So like this only. Nobody actually come to us and will teach you, okay, this is how you need to do. You need to understand, you need to observe everything, you need to learn from your own perspective. And if you're a good learner, you're a good observer, you will sail really good in independent practice. And maybe obviously you need a blessing of a very senior advocate who's keen to teach you also, for that matter. But at the end of the day also, you need to go to him and understand how this will happen. No, because there is no process. Unfortunately, I think now in the all the academic syllable, this internship kind of things, or the practical training may be a mandatory course. But at our, when we we passed out our time, there is no thing called a practical training kind of. It will be there. It will be very formal kind of subject which you only need to put some grade and you pass out simple. But yes. In an independent practice, you have to be your own Eklavya. Nobody will be your, you can't be Arjun, and you can't have your Dronacharya for that factor. So you have to learn from your own perspective. And if you do, and the second most important thing is the economical cushion that you should have at an initial level. If you have that cushion, if you have that monetary cushion with you, you still can survive in the system. You can learn and fight, and then you started earning money. If you don't have an economic cushion, then obviously you have to scum and you need to find other ways so that you can make money also and survive in this profession also. So yes, there are challenges are there in order to into survive in the independent practice. But yes, if you see if you survive that phase, obviously then it will be a no brainer. It's like an entrepreneur. You are yourself. Obviously, you'll create job opportunity for also you will have your own brand as all said. So yes, there are pros and cons are there.
So one benefit I think with working with independent senior lawyers, you get access to their briefs in very short period of time. And once you show them your skills, I think they allow you to handle those cases also. Right. So that I think that is one of the benefit. Gulshan, your view?
Yeah, obviously, once you have to, in the beginning, you have to make your efforts. You have to work hard so that you can have the trust of your senior to assign a case or all that. So that is the key. Once your senior has a faith on you, a trust on you, he will start assigning first the very soft cases, then little hard, then the complex cases or all that. That's why you start learning from the team. So, and Rohit rightly pointed out one thing very clearly: the economic quotient is very important. Which way you want to go, obviously, that you have to choose. And everything has beauty, everything has pros, everything has cons as well. So it's all depends you how do you want to take it and where do you want to go. Where you want to use in the beginning, might be you started with your own practice. It doesn't work for next 2-3 years. You could be failed devastated. You could look into other way. But you have to make a plan because failure is always there. You won't succeed in everywhere. Even I have if you appear in 10 interviews, then only you will be called in 2 or 3 or all that. So you have a space of failure as well. Even today, I realized in the beginning when you do a case, you put all your efforts. And then when you go to court took a simple point to reject your case. So sometimes it feels bad, but you should not lose your heart or all that everywhere. So you have to be very strong enough so that you have you are taking a faith to your client. You have to faith. You have to safeguard interest. So we have to. There is a space of failure as well. Whenever you do any work, so don't let the failure allow to stop or all that. But you don't fail to make the efforts basically. You
Right.
keep make efforts. One day it will come when you have something with you. I believe every failure learn you something. Success give you something, but every failure learn you more. That which success. I go to one example. Just 2 years back when I filed my second case in NCLT, so there was an issue with the service work notice, or the Section 8 notice. Bench was there. I tried to convince, but he told no. This Mr. Counsel, you didn't notice to the this some director all that. But you get KMPs. So he dismissed my with the liberty to withdraw. I spent 2 days in that just to learn about what exactly the law says, so that the next fine day, if the situation comes again, I should be ready with everything or all that. If they go, it was my third case, so in 2 cases I didn't face in from, I didn't go into it. Failure learned me how to come to next. So that failure was very important for me.
Right. Rajdev, your view?
Yeah, Abhijit, see, I think it is well covered by Gulshan and by Rohit. That what is the benefit that one can have to practice with senior lawyer. But I'm just going to cover the another part. I'm just going to talk about the senior lawyer, the designated lawyer. So people always come, I mean, when I go for campus interviews to various universities, then students come and ask like, is there any benefit to go with the senior designated lawyer or not? Then I mean, I did not realize this, but there is a guy who was working with us for last 2 years. He practiced before the court for 3 years. So altogether having 5 years of experience. So he came to me that I just want to resign from this law firm. And I want to just join, this is a practice chamber of XYZ. So I said, see, I mean, you're working for a law firm. I mean, that is like KSK and I mean, and that too, you're just matching the salary. I mean, it's not the case wherein and during the COVID time, he's not giving you that much. So why you're just going to for this, and why don't you join to any senior most lawyer? Why don't you join to any senior designated lawyer? I mean, there you will just get a lot of benefits. So he answered me, and I think, I mean, it could be correct on his part that, sir, if I just go for a senior most lawyer or the designated senior lawyer, then I will not be having much things to learn, because everything just come in a plate from junior lawyers. Junior lawyer means the lawyers who assign the matters to the senior lawyer, and everything is drafted. Then it comes to designated senior lawyer, and then it is going to be represented by him. There will be many less scope of work. But yes, aside to this, there are a couple of things that one can learn to be with the senior lawyer. For example, you'll be having the skill set of, I mean, you can just enhance your skill set with respect to representing yourself before the higher courts, especially high courts or Supreme Court. And you can be a master of jurisprudence also, because senior designated lawyer is all about, I mean, you need to know jurisprudence that we don't learn at the trial court level or any other various lower authorities. So jurisprudence and exposure to high court, and this is something that will be the beginning point. And this is something that I learned from my junior colleague only. I mean, this is what I've been just told. So I agreed actually with his point. This
Right.
is my intake on this. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, Sachin, your view, please.
So we are on the question that what are the benefits of working with independent senior lawyers.
Right.
I'll just mention, if you will see the history, right from they all have been lawyers in their field, and they have become great leaders. So if we see, because lawyers are very much attached to the society, and they become leader because of their skill set. Actually, when we see these senior lawyers, what is most important for us to see that how they are behaving, how they are working, how deal with a case, how they develop a case, and how they argue. It's very important. Which is you see, for any case, whatever get, unless it is argued properly, you cannot win a case. Even if you do a very, very good drafting, yes, it is definitely it is required, but you need to argue it very well. And that is what first of all you are going to learn from a senior lawyer. But there is another analogy I will give. In Hindi we say, एक बरगद के पेड़ के नीचे कोई भी पेड़ नहीं खिलता. So if you are working in under a senior lawyer and you think that you will become a senior lawyer, it is not going to be possible. You have to, as Raj said, that you have to work. Rohit was mentioning Eklavya. So you need to, so you have that thing around you, and you have to be responsible enough to learn techniques from a senior lawyer, from observation, where he's going, how he is dealing, and that you need to transform in your practice while you are starting on your own. So the major advantage is that, yes, you are in that circle, try and take that benefit, and then work accordingly. You need to work. Without that, nothing is possible. As rightly said by Gulshan also, that unless you work hard, you will not achieve, and you will see failures. In fact, senior lawyers have also seen failures, because when two senior lawyers are arguing, one of the senior lawyer is going to win, another is going to lose.
Right.
So when we say that, how approaching the case is very important. Obviously, when you are a junior, you will be given a brief, or you will be asked to do the research. But it is your job how well you are going to approach that case. In fact, in a very, very recent, if you will see this Babri Masjid judgment, when it came, there was an interview from the junior of a senior lawyer, and her marriage was supposed to be taken place. She had to cancel her marriage because she was working on that case. So that's a kind of dedication she had, and there is no wonder one fine day she will become a senior lawyer. So this is the kind of input you need to put to move to that level.
Right. So I would like to give example of my senior lawyer actually. His name is Advocate Srinivas Khoth, and he used to give briefs to juniors. And one such brief I got in just 3 months of my joining his office after getting my sanad. And the case was like anticipatory bail in a dakati matter. There were 7 dacoits involved, and I got that order from the court. So it is actually what senior guides you and how he gives that work to you, that matters actually in independent practice.
Absolutely.
Rohit, your view?
Yeah, obviously, guide, your first guide, your first mentor is always best to you. If you are under, right hands, so obviously you'll grow well. As I told you, every grass has its own charm. It's how you put a water into it. If a right kind of the mentor put a right water into it, right opportunity is given. As I told you, I have a very small stint as an active litigation in the practice under a senior, but it was 3.5, 4 years. But yes, in a Delhi kind of a market, not sorry, I'm using word market, but in a Delhi kind of scenario, in a courts, very the courts, works really very fast actually. So those 3.5 and 4 years, and thanks to my senior advocate also, I got a lot of opportunity, and I have seen almost all the stages of trial, right from convincing, drafting, filing to a final argument, and I have seen in that phase only I have seen the orders also in decree also I have seen in the matter. Because it all depends, what kind of opportunity you're getting, what kind of senior you're getting. If you are under right hands, you will be obviously you'll do well.
Right. Rajdev, what are the benefits of working with law firms?
See, the benefit, there's a lot of benefits, obviously, that we can talk about, but there are few pointers that I want to probably cover because I am also coming from the same background after just leaving my independent practice. So the first benefit is that you're just going to in a very structured and organized manner. I mean, irrespective of the kind of tier one, tier two, tier three. I mean, I don't understand this tier part, but again, I mean, the way it is categorized, the people categorized this way. So, I mean, it is supposed to be, law firm is supposed to be structured and organized. And uh, uh, though you're dependent on somebody, but your income is going to be secured till the time you're working. However, during the COVID, I have seen in many law firms, I mean, it was only March only when, I mean, the lockdown was imposed. And then after, I've seen companies like, I mean, firms like, organization like PwC, they have just reduced their employee salary then and there by 25%. So it was quite surprising. So, and I've seen, I mean, I've been just interviewing also for some vacancies. So wherein many advocates have been just thrown out of their offices from the law firm itself. So maybe I was blessed. I'm blessed that I'm working with KSK, so nothing was done here. But this is the irony of the law firm also, and this is how a law firm can be differentiated from the independent practice. So everybody have taken risk. Everybody, I mean, everybody faced loss. But I think people should think about that it could be the bread and butter of somebody's life. So it is important. So we need to be very careful before taking any such decisions. And the third point that I want to cover is with respect to the benefit of law firm would be you are going to have a diversified fields. So right now, as a lawyer, I'm not getting to one specific dimension. Usually, what happens if you're working as an independent person, then you might be having expertise over one subject that could be insurance or banking and finance. But if you're working in a law firm, then you are having all kind of opportunities. For example, Abhijit, you are working for a company. So it's not all about Companies Act 2013. It is all about all various laws. It could be like factories law, it could be manufacturing, I mean, provisions and legal metrology, full of IBC. So there are a lot of diversification. There are labor laws, maternity benefits. So when I'm working here, so I can say that okay, I know a bit of the context of these particular law, and right now, I mean, if I count, then it would be like 15 plus laws that I'm working on. So this is the beauty of the law firm that you can get here, and obviously the corporate exposure, because we are closely working with the legal managers, with the general counsels, and with the psychology and the psychology of the companies, because our law firm is more about only, I mean, we are just taking care of corporate matters, like companies are engaged with us. So corporate exposure is something which is there a lot, and timing is something that I mean, this is the main factor where, though I mean, people say that it is like a 9 to 6 job, but it is not 9 to 6 job. In law firms, everybody knows like people are spending nights in the law firm and not getting off. So it is again a critical, you can say, whether it is good part of, for me it is it best part, because I mean, there's no limit. Learning has no limit. So that's why, I mean, the more you work, the more you learn, and the more you earn ultimately. So, but yes, lastly, the cons, if we talk about, that would be for the longer run. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how far I'm going to be with any law firm. I mean, is there any end to that or not? Or whether I can stabilize myself with the, because you know a lot of kind of partners are there. I mean, it depends on the equity partners, like for how long they are just going to survive with you. So this is the question that everybody is facing in a law firm, and that is the reason why the separation has been happening, and people are just going and for an independent practice again. I mean, back to the track. So these are the benefits that I'm counting on. So this is all from my side. Yeah.
So just one addition, I guess in-house counsel or independent lawyer, or even someone practicing in a law firm, everybody I think has to have available for 24/7 for their clients, right? They should be available to
Right.
provide support. So
Sure.
the student should come with that mentality when they are actually
Yes.
joining
Yes.
here. So Sachin, I
Right.
have same question for you now.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I started my career with the law firm itself. Because if I have to put this law firm between the three, I think it's a cusp: independent practice, law firm, and in-house counsel. So when I see law firm, you have to work as a corporate, where there are lawyers in your law firm. You have to do a lot of admin work, which an independent lawyer might. He will only maintain his diary, and that is it. People will come, people some munshi will give the dates and all. But here in law firm, you have to service your client. Why a corporate is hiring a law firm? Why not a single lawyer? Today, if there are like 400 associates which are associated with a law firm, a corporate will have an added advantage that I only have to deal with 1%, 2%, or 5%, five law firms if they have hired, because they cannot put all their eggs in one basket. So therefore, law firm, for example, a law firm sitting in a Delhi or in Mumbai, they will be given a case and they have to fight a case, suppose in Ludhiana or in Kanyakumari. So they are doing it. However, they have the responsibility. So that responsibility is to be fulfilled by a law firm. So law firm has to be very, very responsible. Now, a person, an individual or a newcomer who is coming into a law firm, first of all, he will have best of both the worlds. Okay, he will come, he will join over here, he will see full the practical part, how a case comes to him, how the client is dealt, from strategizing the matter up till the argument of the matter. That particular individual is looking after that matter. That is number one. Number two, how he has to deal with the corporate, that also he will learn. Because corporate, for example, you yourself, Rohit, you guys are corporate. You will come up, I want this today, I want this today, I want a legal opinion. So they have to be very much ready. They cannot say that I can't do it, I will not do. So they have to adapt to that ecosystem and come and deliver. That's how corporate is going to be. So I always say I am a team player. So you are a part of a team. Corporate is so for example, Sachin Daga is responsible for that particular work, but they also know that there is a person in his team who is also capable. In everybody knows Sachin Daga is not going to prepare a reply. Somebody under Sachin Daga is going to prepare a reply for a small thing, or a legal opinion. So they also want to see that there is a fantastic person who is doing their work, and they can, obviously I will vet the reply and then I will send the company on my behalf. Usually it happens. I have to be very, very candid with you. So you will get that benefit. Suppose an individual directly goes to a company, he will not get that flavor. Company will say, I don't know you, who you are, what is your worth, how you are going to perform, I am not aware. So, by the name of law firm, you are getting case and you are getting that flavor. So that's the reason if you are working in a law firm, you will get that corporate flavor. You see that, whether you are liking it or not. And suppose one fine day, I always say people, you are not married to my law firm. I am very clear that today, if not today, tomorrow or after 5 years, most of you are going to leave. So when you are leaving, what I am going to earn is that whether you remember me or not, while in your initial days, you have learned with me or not. If you have done that, I have done my job. Perhaps we might meet. At times it happens. There are some juniors of mine. They are facing against me. I feel very happy that still they have come to that particular level. They have started on their own, and they are standing against me. And they also say that yes, sir, we have learned a lot from you. So that's the benefit one can go, and we also feel happy. So first of all, I am also not touchy. If a person wanting to go, yes, the doors are open. If you are wanting to come, yes, you are here. So there are people who are like since beginning they are with me. So they are enjoying. They have their simple ambition. I want to do this much. I want to earn this much. And of course, if extra money is coming, who says no to it? So that is how they are getting best of both the worlds. But if you are in in-house counsel, so Abhijit, if you will do so much, whatever you are getting, you will get that much only. It's like that. So you have to decide.
Right.
So that's how these benefits are there working in a law firm.
Right. And again, law firm or individual lawyer, all of them, they are extended arm of any in-house legal department, right? So they get that flavor of working with the corporates, and then corporate will get ready-made, the experienced guy from a law firm or an individual lawyer who is practicing for the companies. So Gulshan, what is your view on this?
Whatever the role you are playing, you should enjoy it. As soon as you're enjoying now, then there is no limit to that. Enjoying being independent, you should do that. Because if you enjoy something now, you will put an extra effort into that. You will try to do your best. You will do something in a Zabardasti kind of a way now. So it's only you are doing your work, not the job done. It's not once you are enjoying everything, whether it's a lawyer, law firm, or corporate. Once you will enjoy your work now, obviously you will start performing or you will provide the results or all that. So you will love your job, you will love your work. So that's the way. All has all the advantages. I mean, obviously, law firm has the advantage that you have a interaction with the corporate or all that. So you learn how to do corporate law, as Sachin rightly said. So it's all once you enjoy, obviously then you should stick to that. If you're not enjoying independent, you go to a law firm. You're not enjoying a law firm, okay, take a flavor of the independence as well. If you're not liking, you can come to the in-house counsel as well. Because everywhere you have some challenges. So you have to decide ultimately. One should enjoy. That is the key.
Right. Yeah, Rohit, what do you think? What is the in-house job?
Yeah, in-house job, if you see, when you're working with an organization as an in-house counsel, so obviously you need to cater a lot of internal clients. As independent or a law firm has a clients externally as an organization, their clients. Similarly, in-house counsels, they have an internal clients, and various departments are their internal clients for that matter. Collection departments, recovery departments, customer care department, HR for that matter. And obviously when they are dealing with so many internal clients, so they have variety of bouquet they have in their plate. They have variety of matters they have to deal with it. And second thing which I experience as an in-house counsel is like we have to be every time we have to be very extempore. So the beauty of being as an in-house counsel is maybe an organization will give a time and time to an external counsel to reply for a matter, for an opinion. But if you're sitting inside, they may not like that time from you because they want something absolutely instant, like 2-minute noodle like of thing. So they may not have organization may not have that kind of patience with you as a sitting in in-house counsel. So that is one downside I've seen. So they can still external counsel still can buy time with you. They can ask 10 documents also additional, and organization will not budge about it. But when an in-house counsel will ask the same thing from department, he said, why do you want that? You know everything about organization. Maybe a perception is like that of an in-house counsel. He knows all in and out of an organization, which is not the case. Maybe you are a seasoned guy there in in-house counsel, spending, more than 10 years, 11 years. Yes, you know the business, more than a person who is in actually, you are catering it. But still, there are information you expect from a department to give your opinion before that. But that kind of scope you will, that leverage the organization will not give you as an in-house counsel. So maybe you need to build a reputation to that extent. Maybe freshers who are joining as an in-house counsel, new in the role, they may feel this pressure more than a seasoned guy. Seasoned guy knows how how organization work, how business works, and he may read 2 line of the mail and understand more 10 line which is there back of it also. So in-house counsel, yes, it has a variety of work to do, lot of things which needs to be do extempore also. And from litigation perspective, you see, if I always term it as a passive litigation, because I always have a love of litigation. For as a by heart, I'm a lawyer. I've started my career as an independent practitioner lawyer with a senior advocate. So litigation is always my first love kind of thing. So I don't want to simply divorce that love as I came into a in-house counsel. So I term this work I am doing as an passive litigation. As an in-house counsel, I am doing a passive litigation. So how am I doing a passive litigation? So I am taking a brief from my from my internal counsel. I am convincing myself that they have a case in that, and then I am going and in turn I am convincing the same thing to an external counsel, so that he may go and in turn convince the judge for that matter. So this is it's a chain reaction kind of thing. So I will term it as a passive litigation. It's my the term which I have coined. Specifically in-house counsel, when they are dealing in litigation, they are doing passive litigation. Active litigation is there for a external word for a independent counsel or a law firm like of thing. So that's in-house counsel for you.
Right. So what I feel is, one important, work of the in-house counsel is to protect company from a litigation as well as cost cutting, and that you can do, when you receive some internal, complaint, or you receive some outsider complaint, customer's complaint, or third-party complaint. Then you have to go through the entire documentation, understand whether really there is, there is actually you should proceed with the litigation or not. Internally, you should take a call on that, whether you should go with litigation or should settle it, because at the end of the day, litigation will cost you. So all such calls you have to take internally and save cost for the organization. Second part is agreement documentation drafting. There also you can save a lot of cost for your organization in crores. So in-house role has many roles to play, including they are faced for an organization to discuss with the law firms. Now, law firms need to understand the case in details for fighting before the court of law. So in-house, you have to study that case in detail. You understand the business. You understand what are the inputs given by the internal departments, and then you give all the inputs to your lawyer. So those inputs should be accurate, correct, and the details and documentation which you already received from the department, you have to apprise whether those documentation are accurate or not, sufficient or not to file litigation. And then after collecting all the documentation which are not there, the entire case documentation, you submit with the lawyer. So lawyer's work will also reduce. And then during discussion also, it will be easy for the lawyer to understand and to explain also for you, and filing the case before the court of law. So there are multiple roles for in-house lawyer as such. Chaitanya, your view? Sorry, Gulshan.
Yeah, hi, Gulshan. Yeah, so in-house is a very important role. I told you now, once you know business, you have to convince a lawyer as well. What is my management say? What I need to convey.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm on a wrong footing. I maybe still some point of where we are weak. But we have to make the law firm understand that this is our case and this is our best case now. These are documents and all that. So here in-house is very, because he has to satisfy the lawyer as well that this is my case, and he has to take the management as well on one side. So you can't ignore both of them. You can't say lawyer, oh, you do this thing at any cost. No, everything has cost. The lawyer can't do anything which doesn't allow him to. So your role will become very important. Sometimes a lawyer could not see one thing, which the in-house has a very important role because he knows the business lawyer. And there are many instances where the outside lawyer will ignore one thing, but being an in-house counsel, you would point to this. You have to stick on this part, and you should not say this thing because that could affect you in future cases as well. So that is very important for an in-house role. So in-house, that is how do you take it? And in-house is also it's a very kind of a challenging thing. You have to play many roles being an in-house counsel.
Right.
You have to litigate as well. You have to contact as well, finance, HR, and there are so many issues day to day you have to deal with. It won't require litigation, but obviously it requires a skill to deal with all these kind of thing. You have to satisfy every department. You have to take care of every department, and moreover, when you are in a higher role, like general counsel, all that responsibility is really left because anybody, sometimes CFO would expect something from you, chairman would expect something from you, so you have to satisfy everyone. But at the same time, you cannot satisfy with the wrong reasoning or all that. With law as well, and but you have to take care of both ends. Law at one end and your organization at the second end. You have to make a balance between that two. That is the very key role what in-house counsel has to play.
Right.
So that is the beauty of it. Then you learn the things, how to deal with the thing that in-house counsel really, you really develop a skill, how to deal in a particular manner. Because you cannot say no to everything. And you cannot say yes to every time. So you have to make a balance. That to maintain balance is very much important.
Right.
And that is the beauty of the in-house counsel basically.
And I guess
So just to add one thing, the what question says, as an in-house counsel, you should always learn, intellectual way to say no. That's what that's a key of success of in-house counsel. If you learn intellectual way to say no to your management, you are a successful in-house counsel. External counsel can be blunt enough to say no, this is not a case.
Yes,
But
very
as an
true.
in-house counsel, you have to be very, very polished. You can't say no as it is. So there are ways you need to
Yes.
found to say no also. There are a lot of, I should not, not unreasonable, but there are a lot of things, which the management and organization expect from you as an in-house counsel. But if you know to say, intellectual way to say no to it, you are a successful in-house counsel. Nobody can stop you from being successful. Yeah.
So sometimes I used to use a word during my in-house counsel role कि I am not a jinn, so that you will say and I will do क्या हुक्म मेरे यहाँ का. I give so many examples of this time to number of people. Like I have to be limited within law. What is law is there, I will do best for my organization. But that too within a law. I can't go beyond law. So that is the one thing you have to ensure.
And I guess in-house lawyer or independent lawyer or even lawyers practicing with the law firm, each one of them should be jack of all the trades. They may be master of none, but should be jack of all the trades, so that if the client is giving them some case which is new, the entire business understanding in the business is new, they should understand that and provide opinion to the the party. So I guess that should be one of the important aspect of that. Rajdev, your view?
See, I find because we are working very closely with all in-house counsels, in-house people from the company side. So I find a very crucial role that has been played by in-house people. And that is the reason, I always say to anyone that if you want to be an in-house counsel, then you need to have at least some court exposure and then only go and be the legal manager, because you can't perform that role because you need to understand, how exactly the code works and how exactly the company works. So at least I think to a candidate, I would always say that at least have 2 years of experience before the court, so that nobody would be able to make you fool. That okay, नहीं procedure में ऐसा ही होता है, ऐसा होता है, बोला नहीं adjournment ऐसे मिल गया तो मिल गया. तो अगर if you don't know, how to get adjournment and how long it can be, then obviously external lawyer can just make you fool also. So this is something that one should have. And obviously, as I was just carefully listening Gulshan and Rohit, because obviously it is coming from their experience that how difficult it is to convince their respective management. And management is someone like, who will always think and think about the business. They will not understand the law, and there are requirements which is just put before you guys, and then you have to just somehow fulfill it. They don't understand like whether it is possible or not possible. So this is you, like smartly you have to say how to say no. No is something that obviously, this is the art that you should know. So this is very well said. And I mean, for me, in-house person is someone who's like a producer and director of a particular matter. So if you do not brief your lawyer, your external lawyer or the law firm well, and if you do not set the expectation with the external counsel, you would not be able to win this particular matter. This is for sure. If you're just going to hide anything, if suppose there will be something that has to be performed from the in-house counsel part, if it is not performed, then the performance is not going to come out. That is for sure. And I understand the pain the general counsel and the pressure the general counsel have usually from the management side. And obviously, see, for example, if there's a warrant issued against anyone, then I can understand what kind of trauma is just going to be faced by the in-house person. Because see, first of all, nothing is there in your hand, and there is somebody who is just going to be taking care, who is representing you somewhere, and you're not sure whether he would be able to represent you well or not. Because obviously, when you are you, right? You can't, if there is someone, if something is there in others' hand, then you can't control all the activities. So this is the trauma, this is the challenge that one face. And I also understand that legal department in a company also is taken care, is taken as a liability of a company, right? So because you're not producing anything, you're not generating anything, but nobody understands that part. And if you're going to manufacture something, if you're going to create some industry, then you'll be the one who'll be just put at the front. And and the beauty of in-house counsel would be that when the ship is dying, unfortunately, if the company is dying, then you will be the last person to be fired. So this is also a benefit that you'll get here. And yeah, apart from some you can say theoretical benefits that I can talk about, is obviously your income is secured. You are going to get a lot of benefits, and you'll be having great exposure to the corporate culture. And your research is going to be good. Your drafting skills is going to be better day by day, and overall personality development is going to be there. And the compliance part is something that is if you're strong at compliance part, then I think you would be the best in-house counsel or the general counsel of your company.
Right.
So this is something I've learned. I've been collected from my respective friends who are there in an in-house job.
So we just have 5 minutes for this discussion now. So the question is, I just want answer in one line or two lines. Does your college or the university of education really matters, Sachin?
Yeah, Abhijit, well, I'll tell you one thing. Again, if you are going to be in-house, so the pedigree becomes very important. From which college, or from a very very good law firm, your top 10 law firm or top 20 law firms. First of all, the first impression is the last impression. So they will see that if they have reached to a good college, so therefore they must have performed well in their CLAT exam or their entrance exam, and therefore they have come. And these colleges must have taught you lots of moot courts, drafting skills, which are usually missing in the B grade and C grade college to that level. So therefore, while people are going for in-house they are going to be inducted in-house, so therefore college becomes very important. Okay. However, if you are going into an independent practice, or you are going to be with a lawyer, then it's like, what is your personality? You see any good lawyer, I have not seen them as a topper of some good college or some government college, but he is performing very very well in court. He knows the text, he knows the art, he can he has to be a good orator, and therefore he is performing very well. Right. So and a person doesn't mean that if he is not doing well in a college, or he is not from a good college, doesn't mean he cannot be a good lawyer. No. Perhaps the kind of skills which a law firm requires, he might be having those skills. A guy is very very sharp to get his filing done, or to get admin work done, for which you don't require a proper degree. But if you are in-house, where drafting is very important, where processes are very important, wherein data is very important, so we believe that a guy from a very good college or from a very good pedigree will do better. And I have seen the people doing very well, and their drafting skills are very very good. In fact, I have got a person from a very good college, and she is very clear that she wants to do drafting. She's my first person I come about. Otherwise, when you will hire a person, he will say, "Sir, I can do one thing, two thing, master of everything, and not good at anything." But this particular girl who came to my office, she said, "Sir, I want to do drafting, and drafting is my forte." And really, she does very, very good drafting. So that's the kind of confidence we get from good college. And I feel that at times pedigree matters while we are inducting in the in-house, because directly coming from they don't have court experience. So if they have got a good theoretical knowledge, they can be they can be of value addition in the in-house counsel. So yes, over there it matters. However, in private practice, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Gulshan, your view, please.
Yeah, in the beginning, it plays a very important role. Maybe what the name you are carrying with you. After 2-3 years, it could be immaterial, but in the beginning, it's really giving you advantage to the others. Obviously, you know how to deal with the complex kind of a thing. There, like Sachin rightly said, there are lots of things that in the modern days law colleges are doing. In our days, it was these were no things were there in any college. But now the law colleges are providing lots of stuff for the youngsters and all that. In the beginning, it matters, but after 2-3 years, you have to show your own stuff. But you cannot carry in the name every time. But in the beginning, obviously, it plays a vital role in one's career or all that. How do you take it forward? That important. So you want a good base. The what kind of building you want to put a lay on it, that depends on you.
Right. Rajdev?
Yeah. So, see, yes, as said rightly by Gulshan ji and Sachin ji, um, uh, it initially for the initial years it be good to get a better job, better salary, but for a longer run, I don't find it to be more relevant, because obviously ultimately what matters is your hard work, the way of working, and other factors. I mean, I have a hiccup over here wherein when we differentiate between a 3 years course, 5 years course, because we all know like what is happening in the legal education system. I mean, universities are charging like 15 lakh to 45 lakhs, and every year like 2-3 lakhs or 4-5 lakhs have been increasing. I don't know. I mean, where exactly we will land when, I mean, our sons and daughters will be of that level. So I have a fear here, and I don't know whether we are just going into a right direction or not. Because see, first of all, the challenge of this legal field is that we don't have many jobs. Because what is happening now in 10 plus 2 plus this 5 years courses, because you have already spent like 15-20 lakhs of rupees. Now parents are also of the view that, okay, the moment you finish the LLB of 5 years course or 3 years course of that particular private university, then you should get a good handsome amount. But ultimately this is not happening, right? I mean, if we talk about a independent practice, then nobody is just going to give you like it initially you start with 8,000, 5,000 rupees, and then you just go on. So this is a major challenge that the education system is facing, because their expectation is always with respect to the money, and they are not talking about, they are not focused on like where exactly they are just targeting, okay, who can give me more, and then this is how they're choosing the job. So this is actually just a devastation for the legal industry. And ultimately we don't have many jobs, to be very frank. I mean, you know that. I mean, ultimately what happens, like the people might go and land up to the practice only because they have no other option. So yeah, good college may lead you to the right track initially. It may help you, but I mean, you are seeing like we are not seeing 100% placement anywhere, whether it is, I mean, Hyderabad, Bangalore, or NLUs, or be it any college. So I think for the student, if they are listening to this conversation, then I would advise them. I mean, they have to just play smart. I mean, because I have done my LLB from Delhi University, and I've completed this course for 28,000 rupees only altogether, all the way. I mean, if you talk about the semester fees, so you can compare. I mean, there's a big gap between 28,000 rupees and 15 lakh of rupees. So there is no return of investment over there. So, I mean, one has to choose wisely. If suppose, well, first of all, I mean, if your parents are able to uh, afford the fee, then it is fine. If not, then go for the, I mean, government universities. Because as Sachin said rightly, that success has no relation with the universities that you are studying in, with the colleges that you are studying in. I mean, we have seen many Gudadi ke Lal, right? So, I mean, uh, people from remotest part of the country, from the government college, they are, I mean, at the very highest level of the organization. So there is no correlation between the success and the college that you're studying in. But yes, probability is going to be more. Probability is going to be better. If you talk about number of people who are getting the job, then yes, if you are from the good grades colleges, then the probability is going to be increased as compared to the lower grade college. But success has no relation with respect to the thing. Yeah.
Right. So I am of the same view, Rajdev. I don't think tier 1, 2, or 3 plays a role. The main thing is what you learn, whether you have interpretation skills, you have communication skills, drafting skills, that matters. And now students, what they want just entry into an corporates without having any background or any knowledge, experience. Right. So first of all, they should gain that experience, and then they should appear for an interview, not only in corporates
Yes.
but in law firms also, because they want ready-made guys, right? So they want to do business.
Right.
So you should
Right.
prepare yourself from first year of the law itself, and
Right.
how you prepare
So
and how you conduct
always,
yourself, that matters.
yeah. So Abhijit, I always guide students that, I mean, first of all, go and just have a 2 years of experience, and then you come here, because without that, I mean, you are no one. I mean, you can't claim, and just consider this 2 years to be a part of your study. I mean, you have already spent 5 years. You have saved 1 year. If you would have done your 3 years, I mean, 3 plus 3. But now you've done 5. So again, I mean, what's the harm of spending 2 more years in lower court and then come here? Then you'll be well prepared. And I mean, this is for the longer run.
Right.
Yeah.
Rohit, your views?
Yeah, I agree. As a matter of first impression, it looks good as a, you're passing out from a brand. So maybe, you'll get a placement. And the word is may, it's not a shell. So as a lawyer, I'm choosing a very right word. Maybe you get a right placement at a very good, with a very good brand, but it will not make you a successful person because you pass out from a, or you are carrying a, name of a very good brand. What matters at the end of the day is your personal skill, how well you have been, you learned your subject in your academic days, and how beautifully you have, crafted that personal skill into your practical application also. So these are the skills actually matters. And yes, what Sachin says is absolutely correct. Independent, it doesn't matter only from where you have passed the pass your law, and what percentage, what grade you have got. Forget about the institution, what grades you have got. You're third grade, you're a second grade, you're a first grade student. It doesn't matter. What matter how, how beautifully, how, well your academic skill, whatever you have learned, you put it into your practical aspect also. So that actually, at the end of the day, it matters. You may get a, one of the finest, placement in a very good corporate also, for that matter, with your college reputation. But that college reputation will only take you to that level only. After that, that may be your launching pad. It may give you a launching pad, but after that, you need to take off with your own skills. That's how it is.
So
Yeah.
I actually experienced something. Usually, I take a lot of interviews of a candidate. If somebody is not ready to, he's not studied something and he appeared for an interview, I've given him chance to reappear for an interview. So what I observed is, even if you give 2 or 3 chances to the guy, he still, they prefer not to study and come back for an interview. So I have interviewed tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all students, for a job of assistant manager. And what I observed is they don't even have a knowledge to draft a simple letter. Where should write to, where should, they write form and all. So basic structure of letters also, I have found that even good students from branded schools, law schools, they don't understand how exactly you write, letters. Then even drafting part, and I'm now talking about all the students, all tier school students. Even drafting part, if you ask them to draft a simple letter with terms conditions, they fail to draft it. Even if you give them 2-3 chances, 15 days, even months for coming back and giving that interview once again, they don't even try to do it. Ideally, what they should do, they should try that. They should work hard on what document actually we wanted to draft them during an interview, and just be ready for an interview. So that, for that also they are not ready. So that they should be ready to put their hard work in what they are doing, whether they are from tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 law colleges. Sachin, you want to say something?
That's what I have seen my experience when people come.
Yeah.
Sir, format de dijiye. So these are the things which people nowadays, it's very easy. You go on a Google, you will find a format, but that doesn't give you the right kind of stuff which you want. You have to be creative. Like if, for example, if there is a matrimonial matter, obviously there is a matrimonial matter. So at the end of the day, divorce will happen.
Correct.
But every case is different. You cannot go and simply do copy paste. For example, then there are some legal opinions or notices are to be sent. All the notices might be of a similar kind of structure, but the facts may be different. And you should see that how best your drafting can be, so that a particular person should not opt for a litigation further. So that's what we always tell our whomsoever team member are there, that they should do such kind of drafting wherein it is fruitful for our clients, and the other party understands that if we go in the litigation, we are definitely going to lose the matter. So these things we usually don't find. As I said, people are wanting to have quick money, and here it's not possible. Here you have to first have your foundation very strong. Whether in-house, you will have a lot of competition amongst your peers itself. Forget about outside world. In-house also, there are say 20 people who are working, and obviously 3 or 4 people will be rewarded in at the end of the year. So you have to perform over there amongst your circle. We have to perform. We as a lawyer in the battlefield, we have to perform. If we are not giving results, so companies will not come to us. So therefore, it's very important for every student that whether coming from a good branded school or from there, they have to, because they have to teach themselves. All the schools, this is my personal opinion, any law college will not teach you that, and that is good enough, like a doctor, or they will read that book and it is good enough. The amendments are there for us. We are so changing. I mean, recently this the girls law came, wherein girls will have their rights. So everything changes, the scenario changes. Now you have to go back again, read, again assess, again interpret. So throughout your life you have to study. So that thing should come from the initial days itself.
And I think even number of years, how many years you practice in a court, that also doesn't matter. What matters is the study, right? You rightly said. In an interview, I given an assignment to one guy to draft a leave and license agreement, and I had given him 3 days. I said, you draft it at home and send it to me. He did it, 4-5 page document. The heading was leave and license agreement, but the entire agreement was lease agreement. Then I just checked with him how the contents can be leased. What is the difference between lease and leave and license? He failed to explain it. So basically,
to add to
to
add what Sachin said and what Abhijit was talking is, actually formatting a format is actually killing a format of this entire profession.
Right.
So we are all, the new generation is into formatting a format only. So that's how it is actually. Yeah.
Right. Anybody has any inputs? So my next question is where you can earn more, in-house, law firm, or independent practice? So Gulshan?
It all depends, to be very frank. In-house also, you have a very good job. People are earning much in crores or all that. It all depends. In independent, the sky is the limit. But you can't expect in 3-4 years you can earn crores or all that. Independent, the scope is very wide. In a law firm, in in-house counsel, obviously you won't be able to work after 55, 60 or all that. Independent practice, you can work even 70, 75. That is the biggest advantage there. In the beginning, obviously. So the comparison is not, I would say the comparison is not very much useful or kind of a thing. It there should be comparison in the in-house and the monetary terms, very basically. So
Right.
because independent has no limit, to be very frank. In the corporate, obviously people are earning. So it all depends how do you perform and how are the chances you are getting. That all depends.
Right. And I remember my senior was practicing when he was 99 years old. He was arguing before court like anything. So there is no limit if you are individually practicing and studying and actually handling the clients work properly. Rajdev, your review?
Yeah, right. So again, I mean, I agree with Sir thought process because ultimately all becomes a master one day, and maybe uh, all profiles, if you talk about whether it is in-house independent lawyer and a person working in a law firm, all lawyers are money creating profile. There is no doubt on that. Provided, I mean, you should be on the right track and the thought process has to be like that. I mean, you should be working hard. And again, I mean, there is no short keys for the short way out for the success for earning more money. But if you compare this with the, I mean, if I start with the independent lawyer, so there is a struggle initially. There is a struggle time. I mean, wherein, I mean, bank would also not give you any kind of loan. So you would not be able. I mean, if you are on its own, if you're not taking any advantage of your parents, then I mean, even you would not be able to buy a car and show your client and just because I mean everybody knows that independent lawyership or the advocateship is something which is a showbiz nowadays. So the longer car you have, I mean, people will think, okay, ये बहुत बड़ा lawyer है. So this is the kind of thought process that is there in the commoners. I'm not talking about the lawyers. I'm just talking about the commoners, the civilians. So I'm just segregating our lawyership, our advocacy with the other people. So so yeah, initial years for independent lawyer, it is going to be very difficult time to create the bank balance, to create the name. But I mean, ultimately everybody knows this fact and nobody can deny this fact also, that ultimately sky is the limit for him. And we all have seen like the lawyers making fortune, lawyers making bangalow and buying luxurious cars and all that. But at the same time, what happens if we talk about in-house person or a person working in a law firm? The advantage would be that you won't have to struggle at that point in time. I mean, initial years is going to be very luxurious, probably not luxurious may not be the correct word, but very comfortably you can just pass that phase of initial years, wherein independent lawyers is struggling a lot. So these 4 5 initial years wherein you have already have the fixed income. Now at the same time you have that smart kind of income, so which through which you can buy a car, you can just take an apartment probably, and you can just go on. Ultimately, I have also seen in-house counsel and law firm counsel earning crores of rupees. I mean, there is no doubt on that. But these are different paths altogether. So one is going to be comfortable at the beginning, but one may not, I mean, initially. And fixed earning is there. Yes, this is also a fact that one day after 60s, a person has to retire. But again, I'm also seeing people are joining law firm back because 60 is not the time when people should retire. Probably most of the people are thinking like that way because ultimately we all are lawyers. There's no, I mean, denying fact. And you are lawyers. It doesn't matter where you're working, whether you're working in an in-house process or you're working in a law firm. So if you're a lawyer and you will be lawyer, right? The moment you retire, and then I mean, I've seen people because obviously the in-house counsel people, they have links, they have networks, they have their friend circle who are still working in that sector. So easily in-house people can get work, and then again, I mean, they can just carry on after 60s. So there is no stopple over here. So this is how, I mean, it works. Yeah.
Right. Sachin?
I will just add to everybody's point. The earning, I think we'll have to think through from the work-life balance perspective first. If you will see in-house, So initially, we all know that that person will get more when he joins the organization, as compared to what an individual person is going to get. But then after that, there is a graph in company. There is a bell curve. So you have to get fitted in that bell curve. Either you can get 20% increment, 10% increment, so on so forth. But if you see gender wise, or there are people who would say that yes, I am very happy, whatever I am doing, whatever I am getting, I am okay, but I am getting my work life balance. As far as if you will see the individual lawyers, they also can choose to have good work life balance, but I have seen very very few lawyers, because you see, once you start tasting money, then you would want to run faster, and that's what you start doing in this profession. And therefore your earning increased, because there are a lot of variable pay component, wherever a lot of law firms, if you will see, there is a fixed pay component and then there is a variable pay component. So again, if you are doing very good, your law firm is getting benefited, and you are a value addition to a law firm, and you are decreasing work for your managing partner. So definitely you are going to earn more, but it's up to an individual how he wants to pan out his career. There are people in-house, they are doing a very very good job and they are doing better. But in this thing, independent lawyer, there are people who are doing very well, because they are doing stuff on their own. They are making their partners uh, uh, to work less, and obviously then they are paying, because in that time they are generating more clients. And if the clients are coming, it's a pipeline. As we see in engineering, it has to be a pipeline. So client has to come, then client will pay, then these guys will perform, so on so forth. And therefore when you get the remuneration, it's that way. So yeah, you have to understand short term or a long term. So short term, in-house counsels are getting benefited. Long term, independent lawyers are benefited. In a nutshell, if I have to say.
Right. Rohit?
So I again have a very different perspective to look at it. I always believe, mode of earning should not be linked to a model of a profession. You earning more in an independent, as an independent lawyer, as an in-house counsel, or as as a law firm. Who will give you more earning? It should not depend on the model actually. It should depend on a person actually. Person can actually maneuver its career uh, as an in-house counsel also. I'll give you an example. How many in-house counsels will actually reach at the stage of a general counsel? Very few. Correct. How many independent counsel or as a becomes a senior counsel for that matter? Very few. And how many the law firms, how many the partners of a law firm become a senior partner or a director for that matter in law firm? Very few. So what actually matters is how you actually maneuver at whatever field you be as an in-house counsel, you be as an independent counsel. So it's all how you shape up your career. It all depends how quickly you grab an opportunity, whatever it comes to you. That actually matters, and that is actually a what do you call right? What do you call the touchstone or a stimulus test for any earning kind of a matter. So it all depends. If you are what do you call, you shape up your career very well in whatever model, you will earn. Earning is, I don't think it's a secondary thing. You will earn as much as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a great discussion actually, and thank you very much all for joining Success Channel and sharing your knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
to
you.
all.
Thank you very
Thanks
much,
to all.
Abhijit.
Thank
Chalo,
you.
bye-bye. Take care
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah. Bye. Take